There are two things that are about to disrupt the cannabis industry in a major way. The first one's obvious: federal legalization.
So Jake is a G. He's doing some really cool and amazing stuff in the cannabis space. You should follow him, like him, and you should watch the video and comment, because there's lots of cool information there. But I disagree with him, and I'm going to tell you why. So he alludes to the fact that two different things are going to be happening in the cannabis space that are going to disrupt cannabis really greatly in the U.S. soon-ish. Well, soon-ish. The first being federal legalization, and the second, consumption lounges. So I'm going to touch on the federal legalization first. Federal legalization for cannabis in the U.S. is fraught with problems, and I'm going to make it super simple. So here in Canada, we have two major political parties, a third political party, but the two major ones are the Liberals and the Conservatives. I'm not going to get into a political conversation, so we're not going to do that. But the Liberals are the ones who legalized cannabis in Canada. But the Liberals are not the Democrats. The U.S. Democrats are far different in terms of ideological and separation of the view on cannabis separately. Like huge. There's lots of Democratic politicians that are really anti-cannabis. I mean, the president himself is on record of being anti-cannabis. And so just for that moving the needle, it's not as deep as one would think it is, because they are not from that real liberal standpoint. They're just a democratic standpoint. Democrats in the U.S. have conservative beliefs. Conservatives have democratic beliefs. It's not cut and dry. And even if they tried to pass it and Democrats got it through and there was a rescheduling, there was a whole bunch of things, they would still have to get it through the Senate. They would still have to do a whole bunch of things in terms of that politically. And that's not going to happen quick or anytime soon. It is going to be a haul. Only difference could be if it's in some sort of next federal election space where, you know, maybe a Joe Biden or Donald Trump or whoever runs, and whoever's there, again, I'm not going to get political, is actually making that part of their platform. But I doubt it. And there's many reasons why. Mostly you look at the geopolitical situation going on in the world right now. It's just not that frame of mind. Now, you can disagree with that. We can jump in the comments all we like. But another one that we maybe want to talk about is the consumption lounges. I hear about people wanting consumption lounges all the time. And the reality is it is so far away from actually happening that it is going to be insanely difficult. So super simple. There's very few jurisdictions that have done it successfully. Right out of the get-go, Google it. It hasn't been done that well in a lot of the places. But the biggest hurdle for this one, especially that we have in Canada, and definitely it's a lot different throughout the parts of the United States, but is smoking bylaws or anti-smoking that is already in effect. A lot of these are already hard written in, and for you to go back in and open up some of these smoking bylaws and reopening them again, you are just asking for problems. Getting people to reopen the books on smoking indoors or having places that are smoking as consumption lounges, man, in terms of the political nightmare of trying to get that done from a regulatory standpoint, like wild. Maybe you see vape, maybe you see edibles, but actual smoking, bongs, joints, rigs, stuff like that, you are talking about a haul to try to get something like that done from a governmental and regulatory standpoint. I'm not saying it's right, I'm just saying it's reality. And my problem with videos like that Jake just put out here, and listen, Jake's not doing something nefarious here, he's just talking about information. But the reality is, my problem with this video is there's people within the space of investments and money who take that and they start investing money and putting in there, and then doofuses who really don't have a reality of the actual investment climate or the cannabis space, they start taking their hard-earned money and throwing it into those investments, and that shit ain't going anywhere. Like, there's Canadian cannabis companies that have based their entire portfolio on the fact that one day, very soon, the U.S. will legalize cannabis. And, like, they are in a dreamland. Of course, I could be completely fucking wrong and completely out of touch on it. That's completely possible. But when I look at it and I break down the data, my opinion is federal legalization of cannabis in the U.S. is minimum 2026, but realistically way out from there. And the idea of a consumption lounge afterwards, I mean, you might find some in some already pre-legalized states. Like I said, it's already had a real amount of issues in terms of in putting those different regulations in already. I just don't see it. It is a long-term thing. It will happen one day, but anytime soon, I would eat my hat if it happened within the next 4 to 5 years.